Proverbs chapter 2, the protective power of wisdom. Proverbs chapter 2 presents a compelling and structured appeal for the pursuit of wisdom, portraying it not only as a moral imperative but as a life-sustaining and soul-preserving treasure. The chapter opens with a father's earnest exhortation to his son, laying out a conditional framework. If the son receives wisdom, treasures it, actively listens, and diligently seeks understanding, then he will come to comprehend the fear of the Lord and gain the knowledge of God. This conditional setup emphasizes that wisdom is not passively attained, it must be sought with effort and intention, like silver or hidden treasure. It requires a posture of humility and hunger, demonstrating that the pursuit of wisdom is itself a reflection of one's desire to walk rightly before God. At the heart of this pursuit lies a foundational truth: wisdom is ultimately a gift from God. While the seeker must be active and disciplined, the source of all true wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is the Lord. Verses 6 through 9 underscore this divine origin, stating that God gives wisdom and stores it up for the upright. He is a protector of those who walk with integrity, guarding their paths and preserving their way. This depiction shows that wisdom is not merely intellectual, it is moral and spiritual, rooted in a relationship with a just and faithful God. The outcome of this relationship is not only knowledge but the ability to understand righteousness, justice, equity, and every good path. Once wisdom is embraced, it begins to shape the inner life of the individual. The heart and soul become a dwelling place for discretion and understanding, which in turn act as protective agents. The chapter moves into a practical explanation of how wisdom preserves and delivers. It shields one from the influence of evil people, those who speak perversely, rejoice in wrongdoing, and deliberately walk in darkness. These are individuals who have turned away from uprightness, choosing instead to live by crooked and deceptive ways. Wisdom enables the seeker to recognize such people and avoid their destructive influence. Further, wisdom acts as a safeguard against moral failure, particularly in the form of sexual immorality. The text warns of the seductress, an immoral woman who uses flattery to entice and who has broken the sacred covenant of marriage. She symbolizes temptation and unfaithfulness, leading her victims down a path that ends in death and spiritual ruin. The stark language used here underscores the seriousness of moral choices and the irreversible consequences of forsaking God's commandments. Those who fall into her trap do not return or regain the path of life, a sober reminder of the high stakes involved in rejecting wisdom. The chapter concludes with a clear contrast between the destinies of the righteous and the wicked. Those who embrace wisdom and live with integrity will walk in goodness and remain secure in the land, a metaphor for God's favor and blessing. In contrast, the wicked and unfaithful will be cut off and uprooted, symbolizing divine judgment and loss. This final section reinforces the broader theme that the fear of the Lord and the pursuit of wisdom lead to life, while rejecting them leads to destruction. Proverbs chapter 2 is both an invitation and a warning. It calls the reader to actively pursue wisdom with the same intensity one would pursue great riches, reminding us that true wisdom originates from God and leads to moral clarity, spiritual protection, and lasting peace. At the same time, it warns of the dire consequences of ignoring wisdom, falling prey to evil influences, moral corruption, and ultimately, spiritual death. Through vivid imagery and moral instruction, this chapter paints a portrait of wisdom as both a divine gift and a necessary guide for righteous living.
My son, if you receive my words and treasure my commands within you, so that you incline your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding, yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift up your voice for understanding, if you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk uprightly. He guards the paths of justice and preserves the way of his saints. Then you will understand righteousness and justice, equity, and every good path. When wisdom enters your heart, and knowledge is pleasant to your soul, discretion will preserve you, understanding will keep you. to deliver you from the way of evil, from the man who speaks perverse things, from those who leave the paths of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice in doing evil, and delight in the perversity of the wicked, whose ways are crooked, and who are devious in their paths, to deliver you from the immoral woman, from the seductress who flatters with her words, who forsakes the companion of her youth, and forgets the covenant of her God. For her house leads down to death, and her paths to the dead. None who go to her return, nor do they regain the paths of life. So you may walk in the way of goodness, and keep to the paths of righteousness. For the upright will dwell in the land, and the blameless will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the earth, and the unfaithful will be uprooted from it.